What's up, guys? You know how these things work. The deeper down we go, the more obscure the entries get, and we're only just now getting to the halfway point. So let's jump back into it. Hell. The website for this ARG has been taken down, but from the Wayback Machine, I can see that the website launched in 2017, and as of April this year, it's showing as being taken down. But here's what we're seeing from back in June 3rd of 2017. We're immediately greeted with a very crude, dark website with the word hell written at the top, and a blinking GIF with what looks like a young man with a number of blurred people walking behind him. Above him are the words Enter and Part 2. There's also a disclaimer at the bottom. If you don't belong here, or you don't know what you're doing here, it's recommended you exit now. Upon clicking enter, you're greeted with a gif of subtle waves and water that are being gently rained upon. The song Love Crime by Susie Sue starts playing, which if you're a boomer or out of touch like me, you will have never heard, but let me just say it's got a very melodic, haunting, and beautiful feeling and vibe. The song ends and then loops. When you click part 2 from the homepage, you are greeted with this creepy bunny mask, some strange and off-putting audio, and what looks to be a code. Both of these pages have a message that can be read in the inspect element part as well. Luckily, some clever Redditors were able to solve the code and translate it to read, "Do you take the plunge down the rabbit hole without knowing how deep it goes?" They were also able to find a hidden URL that was unable to be retrieved by the Wayback Machine, but the website displayed, "Congratulations, you have the actual answer to the entrance of part 2. It then gave us a code that we'd need and told us to proceed. When proceed is clicked, you're directed to a page that leads to a cryptic riddle of some kind. Unfortunately, this is where the trail went cold. I've joined a Discord server toward working the puzzle and reached out to the members for further information on this ARG, but unfortunately I haven't heard back from anybody yet. If I hear from anybody, I will circle back to this one on a future video, but for now it seems apparent that this ARG is officially over. Away Glitch Swan. Apparently this ARG was originally known as The 7, but in 2016 they changed their name to Away Glitch Swan, which is cleverly enough an anagram for the words always watching. This ARG consists of several YouTube channels that post a variety of different styles of videos. Some of them feature puzzles or some sort of symbolism. Many of the challenges can be solved using sonic visualizers, decoders, spectrograms, but from what I've read about this ARG's history, the majority of the puzzles have remained unsolved. On top of this, the channels are frequently setting their videos to private or outright deleting them. Their channels varied pretty drastically. One channel, entitled Away Glitch Swan Deceased, had only 3 videos, each titled Complex Puzzle. Another channel with the brackets saying G14 classified featured videos that were definitely very different. Strange clips, many advocating for peace and kindness, acceptance of one another, although it featured several puzzle videos as well.
We want you to be aware of the evil around you.
The third and final channel I came across had brackets surrounding the words World Peace Project. This channel also featured various clips advocating acts of kindness and societal change. Each of the channels had cryptic about sections and very little view counts compared to many of the ARGs we've gone over. I could not find any real further findings on this ARG, but from what I've encountered, they seem to be pushing for social change, relying on religious and political situations and encounters. I found multiple articles and people claiming that this had an affiliation with Cicada 3301, but the official Away Glitch Swan channel has stated that they have nothing to do with them. ECKVA. This ARG was made by the same writer and actor from Marble Hornets, which we covered all the way back in Tier 1. With that said, one might think that this could possibly be a sequel or follow-up to that series. However, there is not a direct antagonist, nor does it follow the same format of Marble Hornets. This ARG features a single YouTube channel with a number of videos dating back 4 years ago. The videos are comprised of animations, grainy film footage, and a variety of what looks like glitches, static, prompts, and logins. Much of it makes no sense on the surface. However, you can find what appears to be infomercials, recruitment videos, and a form of propaganda, many containing hidden messages and codes to the viewers. We see notes at the end of certain videos that provide us clues into the story behind the videos. Through these, we learn that it appears as though the uploader, who goes by the login S. Hawkins, is having lapses of memory, adding an even further cloudiness to its meaning. We come to find out that the user is investigating strange video broadcasts broadcasts that are from what is presumed to be a dead television station called the ECKVA network. Eventually, the broadcasts begin to target S. Hawkins directly, adding the potential for an antagonist to be introduced. The most recent video, uploaded 2 months ago, shows an animation and speaks about something called the Rot. It asks us if we wish to join it or destroy it. Then it promotes the new game Louse that is linked in the description. I took some time to play the game and it seemed to be a text-based choose-your-own-adventure style game. However, you're only able to select one of the given choices for the outcomes. It goes into a story about traveling down the Rot and meeting some wicked creatures that invade your eye and force you to eventually take it out. After this story, you're given 3 different choices. However, I tried all 3 of them and they seem to all lead to the same outcome. I'm sure there's a whole lot more to this, but I found it interesting nevertheless. I might look further into this one day. Gmod 9 fan. Here's another ARG that's based in the game space. This time it's in Gary's mod instead of Team Fortress 2 like Gunslinger Pro from the previous tier. It's based on a series of videos that were supposedly released in 2006, however we can only find the channel that has since re-uploaded them in 2017, with the final video being released in 2019. The first 3 videos come off as just goofy videos that someone might make with creepy undertones throughout. I'm sure there are a number of different hidden meanings or messages throughout these videos. However, in the following 2 videos entitled Junk Footage Number 1 and Junk Footage Number 2, we see some interesting footage with seemingly no intended purpose like the first few videos have. The first video shows the user slowly placing lights leading into a dark room in the back of a building. It appears that they're afraid of the room. They hesitate to go in before finally mustering up the courage to explore it with additional lighting. The second video shows what looks like the user putting a bunch of AI against each other for his own entertainment. And now the following videos where things start to get notably different. This one is entitled How to Crash a Server Easy in Gmod 9. The video shows the user creating a cross and spawning a ragdoll to place upon it and burn via an immolation arrow. However, immediately upon setting fire, the game in what looks like the user's entire computer crashes with some horrendous sounds in the process. The following video shows another creepy video of another ragdoll exploding upon kicking a vending machine. Then it displays the ragdoll laying down with music and the screen fading out while breathing sounds can be heard. The following video is the continuation of the Junk video series. It shows the user jumping into a spinning object and upon its death, the screen goes black for a short while. You hear flies and someone breathing speaking to you, before a loud and jarring return to the game with the character finishing its ragdoll death. The game is very dark and flashing even darker, with a blaring, dull siren sound being played in the background. The user first heads back to the building, but it appears that the situation has startled him and he quickly exits the game. The final video, simply entitled Done, features the user setting up a scenario where the ragdoll is frying some watermelon over a makeshift stove. However, as it's being set up, we begin to hear some low, eerie sounds, and we see the table beside him gets flipped over on its own. The user notices and watches, then slowly moves their cursor to the room he was afraid of. The user walls off the rooms and proceeds to another room in the building that he fills with hundreds of TNT barrels. After this, he sets them ablaze and runs away. The screen goes black and we see a face appear in the middle of our screen. The user respawns and returns to where it laid the TNT. The light turns on as they explore the room, only to find black and white checkered patterns leading into a pitch black room that absorbs the light. My favorite theory for this ARG is that the user unintentionally spawned a spirit within the game when he lit the cross on fire. From here, the spirit dwelled within the game until finally tricking the user into blowing the segment of the map he feared most, which essentially broke a hole in the game, allowing it to break free.
You're about to like the video and subscribe. You're chuckling to yourself, nah, I'm good. But something inside compels you to click it anyway.
Robert Helpmann. This ARG is a YouTube channel that contains videos featuring what appears to be a dead body wrapped in garbage bags, referred to as Daisy. Each of the videos show the body in various situations where the presumed killer had to set it up in. The body enters the scene and eventually leaves it in a quick manner. Within the descriptions of the video, the user always refers to an us or we, suggesting that there is more than himself in this house. The name of this channel is actually the same name of a famous Australian actor and ballet dancer who died in 1980. 1986. There are speculations that this series is in reference to him, but I don't know if I personally see enough evidence to support a connection. Inside of Mine did a wonderful video on this ARG, and although he supported this connection, I don't personally see it being the case. However, I do see his theory on a possible relationship to Christmas being valid. There are multiple videos with reversed audio being played. That reversed audio is an old Christmas clip from Santa Claus in the 1920s called Santa in Your Phonograph. Even though parts of his analysis was over the channel featuring 12 videos, 2 of them have since been unlisted. Nevertheless, Inside of Mine's theory holds a lot of weight. His theory asserts that this body is actually a spirit that works on its own free will, entering the house and exiting the house in its own way. You can see things happening around the body from time to time that suggest that this is the case, and it even seems to teleport in and out of shots upon entry and exit. The theory goes on to state that the video suggests that Christmas is dead and the body represents the spirit of Christmas, which has been turned into a capitalism and gluttony machine that we invite into our lives once a year over the 12 days of Christmas. There doesn't seem to be any additional context or sources for this ARG, so we're left to speculate from here. Roblox ARGs. So unfortunately, this vague entry was a bust. I found a few that were called Roblox ARGs, but they ended up being closer to Let's Plays than anything else, with no real depth other than a few kids playing on a game together and laughing. This entry definitely taught me about the side of low effort ARGs that can pretty easily turn people off to the genre as a whole. So I hate to say it, but I'm skipping this one. Waking Titan. On the opposite end of the spectrum of effort and resources contributed towards an ARG, you have the appropriately named Waking Titan. This elaborate ARG involved many websites, radio stations, and call-in numbers throughout the world. It consisted of 6 different phases throughout 2 seasons lasting from May 2017 to July 2020. It was used in conjunction with 2 major updates to the game No Man's Sky. The creators of the ARG, Alice and Smith, were able to use the game's massive universe as a platform for which they were able to explore some of the science fiction technologies that might be found in a game like No Man's Sky. However, instead of relying on the game itself, they created an entire universe of their own with dozens of different puzzles and events almost every single weekend for over 18 months. They had 16 radio stations around the world, dozens of websites, a variety of voicemails, NPCs, YouTube channels, forums, Discord servers, physical locations, and so much more being employed here. There was a number of advertisements on these radio stations that featured hidden messages leading to fictional company websites that were creating using fictional technologies. Hidden in these websites were codes to find additional clues that would lead to passwords that were used in unlocking the entire puzzle at large. This was an absolutely massive undertaking that would take hours to fully break down and to analyze. I'm linking an entire breakdown of all the puzzles that all culminated to the release of the 2 major updates for the game. It was incredibly brilliant marketing, and I hope that more companies choose to implement these things in the future. 70broad. What a treat this one was. The mind behind this ARG is quite brilliant in my opinion. Unfortunately, the videos for this YouTube are almost all privated, so we're only able to go off of existing videos documenting these ARGs. Luckily, Nightmind and Inside of Mind both did a number of videos on this, but Inside of Mind had a tremendously well-made video that explained this ARG quite extensively, and they even had an interview with the creator. I won't go as extensively into it as they did. Instead, I will wrap up the entire arc of the story at large. The 70broad channel started with one 9-year-old video that featured a child screaming at a camera. There was no other context to it really. Then many years later, the creator made a playlist titled Then, which consisted of videos that showed the past 2 years of his life. He also had a playlist titled Now with current videos, where we see a young man named George that was more or less admitting to murder on YouTube. However, he seemed to be panicking and unable to form much coherence. He would be back and forth in his mood and appearance regularly. He was struggling to deal with his situation and no longer wanted to live. He makes it through, but nevertheless, his life slowly goes to shambles around him over a period of time. Alongside the YouTube channel is his Twitter that is continuously talking to himself, occasionally even referring to the show itself in a fourth wall touch meta kind of way. It's almost as if the character was speaking to the creator of the show via social media. The show starts developing a bit of a following, and naturally people are beginning to question its legitimacy. This is when things get interesting. Instead of denying the allegation that it's fake, he admits it.
You know, oh, this is so fake, oh, what's going on? And I was like, well, you know what, if people think it's fake, maybe I'll just come out and say it's fake and fuck with them.
And immediately after he says this, he is forced to stop the show due to police involvement. He made an entire video over it and had plenty of proof for this because the police really were involved in his life. So there was no question in the show being a show. He then seemed to convert the channel into more or less a personal channel where fans of the series could interact with its creator, and they even reacted to the previously created show. However, the creator slowly starts to experience his life fall apart, just like the character he had just played. He's kicked from university, removed from his housing, estranged himself from his family, and forced to live out of his car. And all of a sudden, he stopped uploading. It was at this point he decided to end the show with a bang. He agreed to an interview with Inside a Mind and explained everything. The creator actually created a show within a show. In the interview, he admits that the police were really involved and the university was aware of his YouTube, but they didn't kick him out. And he wasn't really living in his car. But eventually, it got to be too much for him, and he decided to explain what he had in his mind for how the show would end. It was essentially a Fight Club style situation where another character occupied his own mind with him. He had developed a character from his twin brother that had died when they were young, and we eventually come to find out that the video from 9 years ago was a video of his twin brother on the day that he died. I can definitely see why he decided not to pursue this ending. Although I think it would have been a pretty awesome finale, it probably would have been difficult to pull off, especially with limited resources. It was also quite brilliant of him to agree to be interviewed by a YouTuber. This allows him to get his credibility for future projects. And instead of leaving things hanging, he's capitalizing off of his efforts. For all we know, he's working on his next ARG right now. It would really please my Redacted to get 1,000 subscribers, so help me get there by the end of this series. Thanks for watching. Cheers.